Good morning. Let's get started. So today we'll see how can we set up Angular from scratch. So far we have been using Angular CLI. It helps. It saves a lot of time. But again, it's a good idea that we know what's going on internally. So this session is dedicated for that. Even though you may not need to set up Angular in your company manually, but it's a good idea that you know it. Usually the architects do it. The advantage that you get out of this is you'll get full control over how you want to generate your output or how you want your things to be compiled. While the downside is it's going to take a lot of time. So it may take a whole day to set up just to get you started. While Angular CLI helps you get started very quickly. With one command, you are ready to run your application. So anyway, let's say Angular Seed. Usually these projects are called seed because you're kind of setting up the skeleton of the project, and this skeleton is going to remain same across all the projects. So you can take this project and start pretty much any Angular application. So let's open this in Visual Studio Code. Okay, so as you can see here, there is nothing in this directory. Now I'm going to open command prompt. First thing first, we need to have a package.json file. So we know how to create it. Let's open terminal. So I'm going to say npm init -y. Okay, it's taking longer than usual. Okay, I have my package.json file created with some basic information, no dependencies at all. Now I would like to have my index.html file here, or just have src folder, or just anything is fine. Just go with index.ts at this moment. I want, this is a TypeScript file, and I want this code to be transpiled into JavaScript. So I won't be running manually this TSC each time. So we will use something known as Webpack, a bundler for doing all those things, whatever we do regularly. And when you go to Webpack website, this is what the Webpack website looks like. It says bundle your assets. You can bundle your JavaScript files, your PNG images or icons, your Sass, which is nothing but CSS files, everything, and it makes them into one bundle. It takes multiple of JavaScript files and makes one bundle. It can take your CSS file and convert it into a JavaScript bundle, and so on. So this is what we will be using. Even Angular CLI uses the same thing to transpile your code and bundle all of our assets. So let's install this one. I'm going to say npm install webpack, and then I need a server to run this application locally. So I'm installing Webpack Dev Server. Webpack is a tool, and Webpack Dev Server is just a simple HTTP server, which is just for development purpose where you can run them. So if you see here, I'm putting it as a development dependencies, and you don't need this Webpack or Webpack Dev Server in production. You will be transpiling your code, and that code will be deployed to your production environment. So there is no need to run transpilation on production environment. Okay, so this Webpack will have a configuration file just like any technology pretty much in JavaScript world. Say webpack.config.js, and I'm going to export a module here. This is going to be a node module, and here I'll have some configurations. First thing, entry. So which is your entry file? You should tell your Webpack before asking it to transpile, you should tell which is the starting file, because you may have hundreds and thousands of files and Webpack has no idea where to start from. So you should tell it where is your actual source code and where to start from. So I'll say index.ts because I have at this moment only one file, and that's my starting file. And then the output, how the output should be. I'm going to say the name of the file should be main.bundle.js because this is going to be converted into JS JavaScript file. This bundle is more of a convention. If you don't like it, you can remove it because I want to say that this is a combination of multiple files or the outcome of concatenation of multiple files. So people would like to go with bundle as a suffix after the file name. And then you should tell where to generate it. So what I want to do is I want to generate this file inside my dist folder. The dist folder doesn't exist, but Webpack would create it. And then I'll have my module. Here you'll have loaders. So what loaders you want to use for this Webpack? Webpack is a simple tool, but you can extend its functionality with the help of plugins. So one plugin we need in order to convert our TypeScript into JavaScript is TS Loader. So I'm going to install it once this installation is completed. So before that, you can have as many loaders as you want. If you want to transpile CSS files, bundle CSS files, you'll have a CSS loader. If you want to play around with HTML files, you'll have HTML loaders like that. So you have many loaders, and one loader that I'm interested in at this moment is uh, it's you'll have a test as the key. This is an object. Test means which files to look at. So you're going to say whatever file whose extension ends with ts because I want to transpile my TypeScript files. So I'm saying all the files whose extension is .ts. And then what is the loader to use? I'm going to say ts loader. This is the name of the loader that is not installed yet. I'm going to install. But this is the configuration just for converting your TypeScript into JavaScript. It seems like a lot of configuration, but this is one-time setup, so it is okay. So I'm saying what is the entry file and what is the output file and how should I transpile it. So we're not yet talking about any Angular related stuff yet here. It's just I'm trying to go step by step. First TypeScript to JavaScript, then we get into Angular and all those things. So this TypeScript actually needs some, this TypeScript, some compiler also needs some instruction, and that's why we'll create tsconfig.json file, which will have settings such as compile on save, I'll say false. I don't want to save it each time when I compile it. Webpack will take care of it. And what are the files to include and all those things. So let's say compiler options. Some of the options, I want to convert this code into ES5. The reason ES5, not ES6 is because ES5 is supported pretty much all the browsers. So your application is guaranteed to be run on most of the browsers. If you say ES6, you are losing a lot of browsers at this moment. Maybe in future you'll notice support for that, but at this moment your application may not run on most of the browsers. So if you know your audience and if you know your audiences are using new browsers, and then probably you can go with ES6. Otherwise ES5 is better. Okay, this is enough, and we'll come back and add some more settings. And the installation is completed. Now again, go ahead and install TypeScript. I need TypeScript locally. Even though it is installed globally, I need a local version of TypeScript. And then I need TS Loader, which is a plugin for Webpack to transpile your TypeScript into JavaScript. So TS Loader internally calls TypeScript compiler to compile the code. So this it's taking time. Let it take some time. But if you want more faster way of downloading these dependencies, you can use another package manager by the name Yarn. So Yarn is a package manager by Facebook, and it is insanely fast and definitely faster than NPM. probably 3 times faster or 4 times faster than npm. You'll notice the difference. So give it a try. How to install yarn? You'll say npm install yarn -g, and once that is done, you'll say yarn name of the package. And the name of the package is going to be, say, TypeScript, like this. You'll say -d, something like this. Yarn add is the command. So give it a try. But in this course, I'll be using only npm. But just if you want to try it out, some new stuff, yarn is a package manager, which is very, very similar to your npm, but it's really fast. Okay, so looks like the installation is done. Now I'll go to my package.json. I want to have some commands here, scripts. I'm going to say start. I'll say webpack. So how to invoke webpack? You just say webpack, and that's it. It looks for the webpack config.js, and it reads the file. What to do? It comes from this file. It comes to know from this file what to do, and it will do the magic, whatever it has to. So now I'm going to say npm start because that command is npm start. Here is the script. So if everything goes good, you'll have your dist folder and transpiled code. Doesn't seem everything is went for end. Looks like there is some error. Okay, looks like there is the newer version may have some breaking changes. It looks like it is asking me to use Webpack CLI also. This was not the case with earlier versions. So these are some of the common things that you come across when you're using Node.js or Node packages. You may notice some breaking changes without notice. So that's a painful thing, but we got to bear with that. So I'm downloading this package for the first time, so it is not cached on my machine. So first time it's going to be slow, even more slower than the subsequent installs. The subsequent install, it will fetch from my local cache, and that seems to be faster than the first time installation. Okay, so looks like that is installed. Now give it a try. Say npm start. So there could be some more hiccups because we cannot expect this to work straight away. And this is a setup. See, again, there are some issues. Says loaders. Okay, so it says the configuration is wrong. Now go and check configuration here on the website of Webpack. So that may help us. So we have defined entry. That is correct. Okay, looks like it is rules now instead of loaders. Okay, let's try changing it. It used to be loaders, but maybe the latest version might have some changes. Okay, there is a warning that's okay, but if you see dist is created and we have our main.bundle.js. So there's, okay, let's go to webpack config.js. Probably we have mode as development. Not sure whether this will work, but let's try. So it is actually creating a minified bundle. I don't want minified bundle. Okay, now it's not minified anymore. It is the actual bundle that is created. So you have a lot of code. Don't worry about that. That is specific to Webpack, but our bundle is created. Now we have made some progress. It's like now we are transpiling our TypeScript into JavaScript. Now we can focus on writing a first index.html file and say exclamatory mark and tab. This will create a skeleton. And here I'm going to say hello Angular. And I want to load that script, whatever is generated. So you'll say script source, it is under dist folder, bundle.js, and then end the tag. Save this. If you want to run this, you can say webpack dev server. So let me go to package.json. I would like to put all of my scripts here rather than directly running them. I'll say dev. I'll say webpack dev server. So this will start a server for me and run the application. So that's the second step in our setup. Nothing specific to Angular yet. We'll say npm run dev. So we need to use a run, except for start. Start is a default script, while the other scripts that you write, they are going to be custom scripts. So you need to append run. Say it is running on 8081. Let's go ahead and see localhost 8081. We have our Angular. Inspect the element, go to console. See, it has hello Angular. So there is an error. It is because of five icon. We don't have that. That's okay. But our code is working fine. This tells you that our setup is fine. So that's the second step. And now it's time to focus on Angular, writing Angular. First thing, we need a lot of installation. So let me kill this server. So the installation that we need is npm install at Angular core library, compiler. We need at Angular platform browser, at Angular platform browser dynamic. And what else we need? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll go with this one at this moment. And if I miss out something, I'll install later. So say they are production dependencies. And meanwhile, let's start writing our first Angular component. So I'll go a little bit fast here because we have already seen all these things. I'm going to delete. Okay, there seems to be some issue. Okay, there is a typo. So let me rerun the command again. Dynamic. So in the source folder, I'm going to create another folder, app. That's where all of my components will reside. So first component that I'm interested in is app.component.ts. We are not using Angular CLI, so I cannot generate a component, but you can have some code snippets in this IDE. I didn't create any code snippets, but usually IDEs lets you create some code snippets just for filling the skeleton or creating a skeleton, something like that. I didn't have that, but I'm just giving you an idea that if you want, you can go ahead and create it. You say some snippet, say snippet 2 and hit tab, it will create all the skeleton that is needed, just like Angular CLI. So anyway, I want to create a component. So we know how we can create a component. So I'm going to go with selector. I'll say app root, and I would like to have a template, something like this. And then I need to export a class app component. So we won't be talking about any Angular component except writing a component, writing a module, and that's it. And bootstrapping it because this session is not about Angular concepts. We are done with all of them. So import this component. You'll say import component. It is part of Angular core. So the way you write code is not going to be any different. The way we set up the application is different, but the way we use all these stuff is same. So there is one error. If you see this red squiggly line, it says experimental support for decorators is a feature. So that is subjected to change in future release. And so to suppress this warning, it is asking you to do something. So this is an experimental decorator. It's not a feature or it's not a finalized feature yet. So TypeScript is warning you, saying that you completely understand this, and it is asking you to add a setting in tsconfig.json saying that experimental decorators true. So that feature needs to be enabled from configuration file. Don't worry, even if it changes in future, Angular will come up with something. But at this moment, to suppress that error, we need to have that inside package.json, or I mean tsconfig.json file. Anyway, this is our component, no errors. And we know that a component cannot exist on its own. It has to go inside a module. So I'm going to create a module.ts file. So I'll say import ng module from core. And I'm going to export a class first, say app module. This class will not have any logic except this decorator. And this decorator is going to have declarations, and those declarations nothing but app component. And we need a bootstrapping component that is nothing but app component. That's the only component we have. And this, to run this module inside browser, we need to import browser modules. So with that, it reminds me of installing browser. Okay, platform browser I already installed, so no need. Now say browser module. I don't think here the control dot is going to work. So take the pain of adding it manually. Say browser module from it Angular platform browser. Okay, so this is our module. We have imported whatever it takes and we have declared it and bootstrapping the component. Now, once this is done, we need to bootstrap the application. So I'll go to src folder and create a main.ts file. So this is like a main method in programming languages such as C or Java. And here I'm going to use platform browser dynamic, a function which creates a platform for me, and then I'm going to say bootstrap module, app module. And this platform browser dynamic is part of platform browser dynamic library. So let's import it. Browser, platform browser dynamic. Okay, it looks like there is a typo here and here. Okay, so that's our bootstrapping logic. Now let me delete this index.ts. That was just for demonstration. It is not needed anymore. Now I need to go to webpack config.js and modify this. Entry file is no more index.ts, rather it is src.main.ts. Inside src folder, I have main.ts file and I want to go with main bundle, and then everything seems fine. Let's save this. Now, okay, go to index.html. We have created that component that I need to consume it. I'll say app root. So if everything goes good, this application should be up and running, but don't expect this to run straight away. There can be a lot of issues first time. So first, say npm start. This will actually convert your TypeScript into JavaScript, creates a bundle for you. So we may be missing some dependencies, or we might have missed some files, and there can be hundreds of reasons. Say that it failed, and it's clearly says that Angular platform browser dynamic depends on Angular common library, and it's not able to find that. So let's go ahead and install it. We need Angular common, and we need uh, zone zone.js. So zone.js is a library which takes care of your change detection, all the asynchronous stuff. So we need that library. And Angular Common has all the common features such as your ng if and ng for. All the directives are part of this module. I'll go to package.json file and try to change the start from to build, because that makes more sense rather than saying start. I'm going to say build. Once this installation is done, we'll give it a shot and see where we stand. Okay, now say npm run build. This should build the application or throw the errors if there are any. Okay, there are a couple of more errors, and module not found. Okay, it is, if you see here, it's saying cannot find module app.module and there is no extension. So usually by default, the module resolution is going to look for .js files, but in webpack config.js file, you should tell that you have even TS file also to resolve. So you say extensions, this is a resolve, an object, and here you'll say extensions, and those extensions are ts.js. Okay, that's another fix. Let's see how many errors are we gonna encounter. So it is compiled and we have our dist, and here you should have your hello Angular world message somewhere, because here it is. The entire component is uh, transpiled. Now let's go ahead and it's time to run this application. So even though the transpilation is successful, I don't expect this to run straight away. If it runs, I would be happy. But again, if there are any errors, I need to fix them. So I'm running that. This runs a development server, and 8081 is the port on which it runs. It's running. Now go back and hit refresh. In the console, you would notice errors if there are any. So okay, it doesn't really load anything and it says requires zone.js. So what actually happens is this zone.js is needed and it doesn't have any hierarchy chain. So when loading platform browser dynamic, all of its dependencies would be bundled by Webpack. But Zone.js as doesn't have any such things. So you need to manually import it because it is independent. So you'll say import zone.js dist zone.zone, something like this. So go to node modules, go to zone.js and make sure the path is correct. So I'm manually importing this one inside dist. I have zone.js is the file. So that's the file that I'm looking at and I'm manually importing it. So let's run the build command one more time, kill this development server or keep it running. It's up to you. If you keep it running, that is also fine. Or if you want to restart every time, that is also fine. In the second command prompt, I'm going to say build. See, it's working now. So we have successfully set up our Angular. If you inspect it, it's an Angular component app root. So now you can focus on writing your application components and all those things. What we have done is a setup. This is a seed setup. So there are a lot of improvements that we need to make to this application, but this is the initial setup and it is working, and that is the complex part. Getting this shown on the website is the complex part. It took me a whole day when I was setting it up first time. Again, it may take a whole day for you to, or maybe more or less, but it's a time consuming process. The advantage that you get is you have control over everything. Now, whatever you want to do it, you can do it. How you want to compress it, how you want to play around with it, it's your, again, your thing. Okay, now if you see the dist folder, this dist folder has main.bundle.js and it actually contains the entire Angular code also. And this is going to be a very huge file. It's around 2.6 MB. And I don't want everything to be inside my main.bundle.js. What I want is I want this Angular platform browser dynamic, uh, all these files to be going inside one bundle, and I'll call it vendor bundle. So let's go ahead and add that. Go to src folder. Inside src, I would like to have my vendor.js or ts file. And this vendor.ts file is not going to have anything other than these imports. So I'll cut this dist import from my main.ts file and save it here. And then I'm going to import this platform browser dynamic. Say import. And the same thing I'm going to do with platform browser. And for common, core, what else we have? Compiler. So I'm bundling all of these assets in one file. It's like I'm importing from this file. Now I'll go to my webpack.config.js. I want this to be a separate file. So I'm saying that there are two entries, not one. So two entries can be specified using an object. So you create an object and you cut this. This is an object, so it should have a key value pairs. So I'm going to say main, which is my actual source code. This is going to be this. And then vendor, which is the Angular code. I'm going to say it is under src folder, and vendor.ts is the name of the file. That's my entry. So I want the bundles to be created as main.bundle.js and vendor.bundle.js. So what I'm going to say here is, rather than saying just name, I'll use this convention in Angular brackets name. This will take the key and create a bundle file for me. So save this and run with those changes, the build. Go to this. Now we have vendor bundle and we have our main bundle. That's good. So what's the advantage of having or separating these two files? The advantage is, okay, it's kind of stuck. The advantage that you get is this vendor.bundle.js is hardly changes. How often do you upgrade the Angular version? Probably it's yearly once or maybe never. So this file is not going to change, and browsers can cache it for a long time. So for the first time when users access this file, that's when it would be cached. Unless it is changing, browser will not bother to download it again. So how often your main.bundle.js is bound to change? It's very often. See, if you have an application which is very active in development, you may be adding features every day or every hour. So in that case, this main.bundle.js is bound to change. But if you are clubbing both of them, it's like what that file is changing, and that file would be downloaded entirely every time that you access the application or every time this file changes. So it's a good idea that you separate the least changing code into a file so that browsers are smart enough to cache it for a longer period of time. So that's one advantage that you get out of moving this into a separate file. So that's vendor bundle. So we are not dealing with older browsers here. So if you want older browsers, you'll have a polyfill. Okay, one thing that I missed is this application may not work. I didn't show you that it is running. It is generating the bundle, but it's not working. Again, you'll get the same error with Angular zone. The reason is in index.html, I'm not getting that vendor bundle imported. So import it. With this change, now your application should still be working even after that change. Now it's working. Okay. So we know what's the advantage. One improvement that I would like to make, or uh, that I want to add that feature to this setup is, I don't want to manually add this. And I want my index.html to be generated here, not here. Because so that I can easily deploy this dist folder wherever I want. at this moment I cannot deploy. I need to deploy this index.html and the directory structure has to be here. So what I want is I want this index.html to be like this without anything in here, first thing. And I want this HTML to serve as a template for the outcome or the output index.html that is going to be generated by Webpack. So for that, we need a plugin, and the name of the plugin is HTML Webpack plugin. So let's install it. So I'm going to say npm install HTML Webpack plugin. I'll say -d. This is also a development dependency. Now let's go ahead and check the documentation of this HTML Webpack plugin. You don't need to remember the syntax and all those things because it's hard, because you may have tens of plugins in your code and it's seriously it's impossible to remember all the source code or syntax. So come back here. This is the installation. We have installed it, and the configuration that we need is first import this. Go to webpack config.js, add an import statement here, and then you need to add a plugins. So I'm going to add this plugins section here. So whatever plugins you're using, and this is an array. So you're going to say new HTML Webpack plugin. You need to create an object of it. So this is how you create it. And there has to be some configuration for this HTML Webpack plugin. Okay, let's see what happens with that without even configuring anything. Let's say npm run build. So we are adding more and more features. We are not even taking care of CSS files yet. You have to do that. And we are not worried about image files. We have to do that. We have to copy that image file to even dist. All those things are part of this setup. Okay, it goes, see, index.html. It generated an index.html, which actually has your bundles already added. So it is doing a favor on you by adding the script tags dynamically. You don't even need to worry about it. But again, we don't want this HTML. We want app root to be here, right? We want this app root to be here. So what I'm going to do is I'll just delete this dist folder. You can delete it anyway. It would be automatically created each time. So I need some configurations for this plugin. Go to webpack.config.js, and here this accepts an array, I mean object. And here I'm going to say what is the title, what is the file name. So I'll say file name. File name is going to be index.html. I don't want any other file name. Index.html is the convention. And then I'm going to